Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to wait a little bit and let folks trickle in. See those numbers jumping up. In the meantime, if you would like to share where you're zooming in from, we would love to hear that. Go ahead and put a note in the chat, and you can find that chat icon at the bottom of your screen, and then just click the little caret and select everyone so we can all see where you're zooming in from. Alaska. We wish you were in Grand Marais too. For those who are just joining us, feel free to share where you're zooming in from. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Hello to Chicago and Kansas. All right. And I'm also going to go ahead and open a poll. And this is a really simple 2-question poll. Our funders like to know where everybody is joining us from. So a similar question in the poll, where are you joining us from? And if you want to be on our newsletter. So thanks for filling that out.
Then I won't touch it, hey, Sarah.
Great. Again, if you're just joining us, you should see our poll that's open right now. We appreciate you answering those couple questions, and feel free to share where you are zooming in from today in that chat function. You'll find that icon at the bottom of your screen. Wisconsin and Minnesota here. Hello, neighbors. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll in about 5 seconds. If anybody else wants to get those questions answered. Thanks so much again. All right, wonderful. Well, I am going to go ahead and start the welcome here, and I know a few more folks are trickling in, and will be for maybe a couple more minutes, but we are so excited to get started. So here we go. My name is Sarah. I am a program manager here at North House on the North Shore of Lake Superior in Grand Marais, Minnesota. And we are a folk school, which means we teach traditional Northern craft, and that can include anything from basket making to woodworking, all kinds of fiber arts, outdoor skills, foods, and so much more. And a great way to learn about North House is to visit northhouse.org. And if you want to learn about things we have going on, such as events and new class releases, get signed up for our e-news. We've got a field on the homepage, and you can just sign up really easily there. And I know our poll, one of our poll questions was also getting on our e-news list too. So we'll be sure those folks who said yes to that question get put on the e-news as well. So I just want to give a really quick Zoom tour also before we get moving. This is a webinar, so all of our participants are hidden, and if you have interest in asking a question, we appreciate you using the Q&A function. So there is a little icon at the bottom of your screen that looks like 2 chat bubbles. So if you click on that, you can enter a question, and we will do our best to get those answered. Sometimes if questions end up in the chat function, they get lost. So you're welcome to share any notes or responses to something you hear in that chat function. We're still happy to hear from you, but getting those questions over to the Q&A is really great. So we appreciate that so much. So yeah, we're just so happy to have Jarrod Dahl and Magnus Sundelin here on this. It's a cloudy day in Grand Marais, and I think they're seeing some clouds where they are too. Jared's in northern Wisconsin. I just want to welcome Jarrod as our webinar host, and I will let him introduce Magnus here. So Jarrod's a woodworker and also a lead instructor with North House, and he teaches around the country and also internationally. And Jarrod, you're welcome to share more about yourself too as you get started. And I'm just checking my notes to see if there's anything else I need to say before I disappear. But I think it's time to go ahead and jump into the conversation. So thank you so much to both of you for being here, and we really look forward to this conversation. So Jarrod, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon or evening, everybody. One of my roles as lead instructor of the school is to help organize events, and this Zoom series is part of that charge. And so Wood Week, I thought maybe we could interview or do some Zoom presentations like the last few years. And I reached out to Magnus, someone who I've met 2012 or 2013, maybe in person, but online at Facebook earlier than that within the spoon carving community. And he agreed to have a conversation. And so we're going to just, talk shop a little bit, tell some stories, and we'll see how it goes. And again, use the Q&A to ask questions, and I'll be monitoring that, but I won't be monitoring the chat probably at all. So let's get going, Magnus. Hey, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I can't see you right now, Jarrod. I just see my own face, but like we said before, we run this as a small chat or a conversation, and we take it from there. And looking forward to have some questions from the other participants. So don't hesitate to, there are no stupid questions. So just ask if you want to know things.
Yeah. I wonder if we can, let's see here. I'm just going to sort out the technical thing real quick with this. It'd be nice if we could see each other when we're talking. Don't you agree, Magnus?
Yeah.
It says you can choose gallery view to see me. So maybe make a little setting change there.
Is it under the settings?
Probably upper right-hand corner, it says view, speaker or gallery.
I'm right down now at settings.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little icon on my screen. There's a little icon up in the upper right-hand corner. But
in the right corner.
Upper right, correct. This is view.
Yeah.
This is Sarah. I can actually spotlight you both, so we should be able to see you both.
Yeah, okay. It'll probably make the conversation a little bit easier flowing if we could see each other. Okay, there we go. That's better, hey? Yeah, so Magnus, you live in Sweden. So yeah, where do you live? You're in northern Sweden. How far from Stockholm?
I live around 400 kilometers north from Stockholm, following the coastal line on the east coast of Sweden. And then it's a small town called Sundsvall. And then when you reach Sundsvall, you go another 25 or 27 kilometers directly west towards Norway. So it's pretty much in the middle of the country. And I live in like a rural area. There's a lot of forests and mountains, and I have this beautiful river just outside my home. So I'm actually living on the countryside.
Nice. I haven't been to that part of Sweden, but hopefully someday I'll come visit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mi casa su casa, you know.
Yeah. So we first met through the spoon carving community. I think probably online, to be fair, with the Facebook and the Slöjd group, I think, when we first, learned of each other. And then probably at Spoonfest, maybe the second Spoonfest, maybe? Don't remember.
I think so. We met twice, I think, on Spoonfest events. And then you went over to Sweden to Sätergläntan at, I believe it was 2013, the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that maybe was the first time.
We've known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah. So maybe, I know that you are a school teacher. You teach craft in school.
Yeah.
And maybe gym or physical ed, I think too, maybe.
Yeah, I'm educated in both sports and craft.
Oh.
But since 2 years back now, I totally retired from the sport part of my teacher's career, and that was because a colleague of mine left school. We were 3 hard Slöjd teachers teaching wood, metal craft, and he chose to leave us, and we had kind of problem to fill up the scheme. So I asked my colleague who is the scheme manager if I quit the sports, is it possible for us to take all the teaching, and that was possible. So 2 years back now, I'm just teaching wood and metal craft.
And I know there's different types of schools in Sweden. Maybe you can describe the school. Is it like a regular high school or regular grade school or a folk craft school? Maybe talk about Slöjd a little bit and what that means from a Swedish perspective.
Absolutely.
I know we use that word around, outside of Sweden, but there's a couple different versions of what that means. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. And in Sweden, we have this school subject called Slöjd. It's written into the curriculum, and every kid from age 9 up to 16 has this subject on their scheme, because it's a part of the educational system in like from age 9 up to 16, and they both read and study wood and metal craft and textile as well. And it has been like this since 1870, 1880, something like that in Sweden. And the variation from school to school in Sweden is kind of huge, depending on what kind of teacher the kids have. I myself, I chose at an early point that I wanted to teach my kids about the Swedish craft traditions by using knife, axe, saw, and hand tools. There are a lot of colleagues out in the country that knife and the axe and carving tools. They are afraid to, maybe the kids will cut themselves severe, but I don't fear that. I encourage my kids to use the knife, and later on, when they are like 13 and up, we start to use the axe. Because if you teach kids the right way and you supervise every step, then it's almost waterproof. It's a safe form of slöjd, I think.
Yeah, that sounds very different from here. Most of the shop classes and things like that were sort of retired, maybe. I'm not sure when, but I took shop class in the 80s, but you know, as far as I know, they're still around, but I don't know if they were using sharp knives, but maybe machines, you know. So there's some similarities, I guess.
Yeah.
For people here in the States trying to maybe imagine, you know, what it would be like, but it sounds cool. And then you also carve spoons, and you teach outside of the school, right? At Spoon Fest and maybe some of these other Greenwood events. For folks that don't know, you know, there's Spoon Fest in Sweden. There's a Scottish hoolie. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Yeah, the Great Scottish Spoon Hoolie.
Spoon hoolie, yeah. And
I've also been to Israel, and I taught a masterclass in Israel 2018.
Nice.
I was invited there by a couple of Israeli friends. It was really interesting. Israel is a very, very small country, but there are a lot of good carvers in Israel, and the progression there is like
I follow some of those folks on Instagram, and met some right at Spoonfest. They traveled to England.
Yeah,
pretty amazing. And then you blacksmith too, right? You make tools.
Yeah. The story between my urge, because I've always been extremely fascinated with history and Vikings in particular. So I had this dream when I started at uni to make just one knife blade from scratch. So I went into that blacksmith shop and never got out again, because I got totally obsessed and hooked with blacksmithing. So I'm self-taught. So I never attended any courses or stuff, because I read a lot of books. I talked to elder retired blacksmiths, and some of them have been like muscles. They won't reveal any secrets, and it was like, no, you have to find that out for yourself, and so on and so on. So the blacksmithing has been a lot of try and error when it comes to making tools. But I believe nowadays, I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I use a small chip carving knife that I bought or you gifted me. I don't remember, but for carving details.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice. And we were just talking beforehand. Your smith is set up in maybe kind of an open air or just a roof or a shed. So you only blacksmith maybe in the summer months.
Yeah, I have my season is now we have like really warm weather in my part, so I hopefully I will start up the forge this week. Not sure yet, because but otherwise I go from like April to late October, and then the season is over, and then I make tools every Friday, because then I don't work at school. Then I work home, back at my place home. So the demand 10 times bigger than I can produce. I want it like that, and I don't do any pre-orders or stuff like that. I tried that those first years, but I got kind of stressed out, and me making something, feeling stress, it doesn't turn out good in the end. So I avoid all kind of pressure from outside. I do this too much by heart, because I love to do it. And if I lose the love to the craft, then I need to do something else. So I have to kind of, this decision is to protect myself.
Mm.
And I had kind of half angry emails sometimes from on Instagram and so on, and why can't you put me up on the list like every other blacksmith and so on and so on. But it's my decision, it's my tools, it's my way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how much demand there is for, the carving tools, and
Yeah,
seems like there's a lot of room for people to, if they're interested, to do some hard work, they could be pretty successful, and I'm just getting into it
yeah,
myself.
absolutely. Yeah, I know you make your own tools as well. The thing is to kind of pass over that fear of doing wrong, or because wrong is also a part of the learning process, I think. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true.
through the making of mistakes that we kind of, and I love that process. I have constantly, I'm kind of thinking of how to improve tools, or experimenting with different angles, different types of tools. And when I feel kind of content and satisfied, then I try them out. Actually, I've been shipping out some like prototypes to close Slöjd friends, and they try it out, and if they say green light, then actually I can start like a small production.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, it's nice
so I
to
have
get
like a
feedback.
test group.
Yeah, yeah. There's a saying, maybe you've heard, I don't know where it came from, but you hear it around once in a while. A master, I wouldn't see myself as a master, but a master has failed more times than the beginner or the novice has even tried.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's important for folks to realize that fear of
Yeah,
overcoming that fear of failure and mistakes.
yeah. And the thing is with performing or making stuff, failure is a part of the process, no matter how far you have gone on, climbed on the ladder, so to speak. I make tons of mistakes each day, each time I do something crafty. There's always some kind of small mistake.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, learning to roll with it.
I think did you have any question?
Well, there's
Jarrod?
the one main question is the name that you chose to for this interview. The knife becomes a comrade.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting to explore that.
Yeah, and then we have to back the tape. I was 4 years old when I had my first knife, and starting to do those small attempts to carve without meat slöjding. And I did a lot of meat slöjding. It was my grandfather, actually. He was a retired baker man, and when he retired, he started to make bowls out of birch burls and alder burls and stuff like that. And he was kind of obsessed with this process, so he actually lived outside in his workshop. He only went in when he needed coffee or eat something. And that was the only way for me to spend time with my grandfather, was to stay in the workshop with him. And he wasn't a great teacher. I can't blame him for that, because he never taught me anything about knife grips and stuff. So every time I cut myself, it was like, stop whining, get into grandma, get a plaster and get back here. So it was a tough learning curve. But since then, the knife has been kind of, I chose to call the knife my comrade, or my friend, because it's been present since that day, actually, when I was 4. And back in the days before internet and stuff like that, I spent a lot of times in the woods, in the forest, because I felt like that was my second home. And to be able to make like a barbecue,
or to make a fire, or
whatever, you had to have a knife. So the knife is kind of, therefore I chose to call it the knife was my comrade, because I feel safe when I have a knife. If you put me out in the woods, I can stay alive for a couple of days at least, just with a knife. I know you Americans, you talk a lot about bushcrafting and stuff, and to me it's kind of knowledge about the forest instead. So if you learn a couple of edible plants and how to use and improvise equipment and gear just by the use with your knife, you're pretty safe out in the woods if you get lost or something.
Yeah.
So to me, the knife is an insurance. It makes me feel safe. And it's also a big part of my profession as a craftsperson. I prefer to use the knife as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And maybe, with I where I live, northern Wisconsin, it's rural too, and most people have to interact with the natural world, maybe more so than in the city. It's obvious, but it's part of the lifestyle where everybody has knives. My dad always carried a pocket knife, at least a pocket knife.
Yeah.
And if it was more of a wood adventure, camping or hunting, then there was a different knife, but always a pocket knife for cutting up an apple or just whatever. I grew up with that. Yeah.
whatever needed. You need a sharp blade. So the knife is like it's a kind of insurance.
Right. It is insurance. One of the oldest tools man has had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if I get back to that history, then I turned 18, 19 something, and I did my service time up in Lapland. It's very cold, very dark. And I easily get kind of stressed out if I don't have something to do with my hands. And parts of my training in the army was to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And just to stay calm, I whittled a lot to stay focused on the mission or whatever. So I made like smoking pipe and small figures and stuff. So the knife has always been kind of present and a way to make me calm in my head.
So when did you make
And
your
later on, I met my wife. My first.
When did you make your first knife?
I think it was during my service time, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, because I lost that Mora kniv they provided us, and I knew that
my commander
would rip my ears off if I turned up without a knife in the gear. So I had like this a blade. Actually, I have that knife still today. It was just an ordinary Mora blade. So I took a piece of antler, drilled a hole. It looks like, I don't know, but it works like a knife. And I tried to make like a simple leather sheet. So that was actually my first knife. I was around 18, 19 or something like that. Because I had this dream when I was a student myself and attended like preschool, high school, and so on to make a knife. But I grew up in Stockholm in a kind of suburb, and my crafts teacher there, he was like, "No way you're gonna make knives because you only get out on the streets and stab someone," because it was kind of tough environment where I lived or where I grew up. It was a lot of criminality and so on and so on. So I could never make a knife during my time as a student in high school or preschool. But the urge and the longing to make my own knife has always been there. And after that period, actually, I started to make lots of knives. And I had this plan to attend a knife competition here in Sweden. Knife Week, they call it. And then I read the rules about different classes and stuff, and I kind of just backed out, because to me a knife is a knife. It's a tool.
Using like
gold or silver or antlers from mammals or whatever. So I left that scene pretty quick. Knife is a tool.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And if you don't use your knife, if you make like a, I don't know, $10,000 knife, you buy a knife for like $10,000, because I know there are people that do that, and you put them in a showroom or a cabinet or something, then the knife is useless. Because if you don't use the knife, it's a dead knife. It's no knife.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can see both sides, but I know what you mean.
Absolutely, and I full respect for people collecting knives or collecting tools. I don't put any value or something. I have my point of view, but I have full respect for every other person's point of view or motif for a knife. Could be like a beautiful piece of art. So who am I to look down or even have an opinion? I have my view and I feel confident in the way I see things, and then the rest can do whatever they like. It's fine with me.
Yeah. Live and let live.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I got a question from somebody. Let's see, have you enjoyed working on other things other than spoons, bowls, shrink pots? Is there other things following the Slöjd tradition that you enjoy making or working on, or are interested in making someday?
Absolutely. And I've been cheating around with most crafts there is, actually. As I said before, I easily get like bored and restless. So I enjoy both sewing. I've been sewing like outdoor clothes,
Oh.
Backpacks. I've tanned skins.
Huh?
Had a short period with casting as well. So I enjoy pretty much everything you can do with your hands. And I think I learn something new, something vital from every type of material that I try out. But I've been doing a lot, even baskets, believe it or not.
Nice. When you tan, what kind of skins do you tan?
Mostly fish skin, actually.
Ah.
Salmon skins and so on, because I had access to, during Easter here in Sweden, we eat a lot of salted salmon, raw salted salmon. I don't know if you have the same in the States.
There is some.
And then the skin is kind of in. I'm sorry?
We do, but there's no skin on.
All right. But here in Sweden, we kind of make like a big fillet, and then we put it in a salt bath with some like small amounts of pepper and some other spices, and then we eat it like with thin slices and raw fish, and it's super delicious.
Gravlax?
And then
Yeah.
And then I went to our local store here in the small village just aside, and I just asked for the skins. And they were like, "Oh, what are you gonna do with the skins?" And I had like a tanning course with the kids at school. Actually, we made we had both with bark and urine. And to process the skin with urine, it goes like super quick. With a fish skin, it's the tanning process is over after like 24 hours, and then you wash it off. And and salmon skin is like super tough. You can make cords, every type of binding, and so on. So, but I also tried out deer skins and made like a smoke tanned, and we used the brain from the animal, because I believe that there's the native way, because it was this Swedish American woman who went over to Sweden. This is over like 25 years ago. Her name was Lynx.
I know who she is.
And she taught us, yeah, you know her. And I believe she's like half Swede, half American, Swedish mother, or and she taught us this technique, and it, as I understood it, it was a native way of preserving and tanning skins. I believe we both mashed it up. It was like brain tan skin, I think, and then we smoked the skins.
Yeah. I've tanned maybe a dozen hides that way. I understand the process. Never fish skin though. That's something I know of, and especially there, I think in Sweden, it's an old tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. if you look at like the coastal areas, both on the west coast and the east coast, the fishermen's used fish skins for binding, and particularly from like salmon is super tough.
Huh. Yeah, it wouldn't
Make shoelaces or whatever.
yeah, I don't know if
snap off.
I've never.
Even I know.
Oh, there's a little delay. I don't know if I've ever handled fish skin, tanned fish skin. I didn't realize it was so tough.
No, it's super tough. I've used it for when I made a couple of years ago. I made knife sheets out of birch bark, and then instead of using root or small strips of birch bark, I took strips from salmon skin and binded it with that. And I kind of I love that process when it comes to Slöjd and craft and using natural materials. To me, myself, I kind of feel connected to the origin of being a human, actually, because we have so much superficial stuff and chemical stuff in this world today, processed food and so on and so on and so on. So the Slöjd and craft is kind of it's like a pipeline back in time to our origin. So I like natural materials to use them.
Yeah, that's a really, really important part of craft. Maybe people don't always think of it that way, but I know what you mean and feel the same way. Just being able to go out into the bush and just use what's there, what's available, and you understand or learn about the entire process. You're not having to rely on, anybody else besides your own knowledge and skill. And, what nature provides. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think the modern man or modern people today have, in just a couple of generations, we have lost like the connection to what has provided us for 10,000s of years back in the days. And like just a common skill, make a fire, pouring rain. Can you make a fire with the material out in the bush? And I believe the majority today insecure and start fiddling with the cell phone instead to have someone else to solve the situation for you. And I believe we need to go back to the roots, kind of. And I don't mean to sound like an extremist or something like that, but I believe we need to have like one leg, one foot in the past. And we must not forget where we come from originally.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that would be really important. Maybe like, the craft schools there in Sweden, or the schools in Sweden where you teach kids, how to use Slöjd.
Yeah.
Something like that where people have, well, it's that same thing. You're trying to connect the kids with some of that,
Yeah.
There definitely could be more of it. It could help solve some of the problems that we're having to face, in our future. But you have
Absolutely.
You have any spoons or things to look at to show us handy? I see all your tools on the back wall there, but you have any spoons you're working on, or shrink pots? Or
Yeah, I have a couple of this is the latest. I don't know if you can see this. I got kind of hooked on Anja Sundberg's this knife sheet challenge. So I was like, I need to try that out as well. And I wanted to make mine with like
with a click.
but I think I have
Nice.
a couple of spoons right now. I know I've been making a lot of spoons with a lot of decoration, paint and stuff, but now I just try to I just want to make like decent, good forms and not hide behind a lot of chip carving and paint. I'm kind of harsh towards myself because I had this fear for a naked surface. So this is kind of tough for me, just sitting here and should I leave it like this? Is it good enough? Or should I just put chip carving on it or coloring or whatever? But I'm having a tough time to leave it. And this spoon has been like an object of long debate. It's the so-called Kayak Spoon.
Yeah.
And I tried to make like a research on this one because nothing new on the sun. And I believe the first spoons the Inuits made were out of like whale bones. They had this extremely shallow shape and they needed a spoon to put the food in their mouths. But I had my granddaughter now. She's 1.5. I don't know if you can see this. Her name is Stella. So these days I make like small spoons for little Stella to eat.
That's nice. Have you made one of those knife sheaths before? The wooden ones?
The wood sheet, no. Never. But I got so inspired by watching Anja Sundberg's. So I was like, I want to make a Viking one, kind of.
Yeah, for folks that are listening, there's another Swedish craftsperson named Anja Sundberg, and very playful, decorative. I don't know how to describe her work. She's really fantastic, and she posted a challenge on Instagram to make a wooden sheath, and she had some clever ones herself, and then people have been following along. The hashtag, do you remember the hashtag for that, so people could look?
Knife sheath challenge, I think.
Knife sheath challenge, yeah. If you're on Instagram, you can check out some of that. I know what you mean about those naked spoons. I used to decorate a lot, and then finally I needed to break away from that and work on form. A lot can be, decoration is nice, as you know, but it also can be distracting, and so it's nice to break away from too much decoration and just maybe pick it back up again someday. But like, I will start to decorate again like sometime.
I kind of I'm cheating right now, so I'm doing both. So I have a new batch with eating spoons coming up with a lot of chip carving, but I'm considering not painting them, just linseed oil on them and let the wood speak for itself. But having a really hard time not decorating the spoons, because it's a great passion for me to chip carve and decorate, and I believe that's something to do with my restless personality, because I kind of settle down when I have to whittle small details and chip carve small details and get like hyper focused on one thing instead of having like 16 channels in my head running all the time.
Yeah.
It's a way for me to calm down.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just looking at a question here. I think they have us slated for 45, 50 minutes. So, is there anything else you want to share with us, Magnus? We have a few more minutes, but I mean, we could go on and on for hours talking about various things.
Yeah, I know. No, the thing is, for anyone out there, I don't know you, I never met you, but I hope that you try to see the craft and the Slöjd as an inner journey as well as making products, because the carving and the crafting, it enriches your soul. And to me, I've actually been like I said, the knife is my comrade, and the craft is my mental savior. And I have so much to thank the Slöjd and craft for, both experiences and been able to traveling around a bit.
Beautiful people, getting new knowledge.
And I just, this world of craft people, Slöjd people, is amazing. I remember you, Jarrod, you said like a quote that I've carried in my heart since I heard it, and it was share and learn. And that quote is kind of a beacon to me. Because if you have knowledge about stuff and things, share it. Share it freely, because you can't lose anything by sharing your knowledge. Because this is not a competition. Maybe a competition with yourself and your inner self, but not to others. Because it's really good that there are a lot of craftspeople performing craft, because then the craft won't die out and the knowledge won't die out. So therefore we have to be extremely generous with the knowledge. Otherwise it takes just one generation to put knowledge away. So share and learn.
That's great advice, Magnus. Well, maybe we should say goodbye. Really appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit about yourself and your work. And people can find you on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
Yeah, I get Facebook as well, but I'm more frequent on Instagram. So that's kind of my platform. Yeah. You find me under the Slöjd Magnus, and it's Slöjd like in Pink Floyd.
Right. Well, let's see here. I'm going to look at, there's a couple questions at the end here.
Absolutely.
People are saying thank you. It was interesting. Someone was commenting on they were excited to get failing again. So that's good. Yeah, that's about it, I think, Magnus. We'll end our conversation. I wish it could be longer. Maybe we can do this again some other time. Thanks to everybody for coming. And they record this, so it'll be on the North House's YouTube. You can, I don't know much about that behind the scenes stuff, but you can find it there. And enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Thanks, Magnus. We'll see you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna log out.